Today, I'd like to continue our discussion on joy and how we can find joy, both from the Christian perspective, as illustrated by some of the reflections of Bishop Desmond Tutu, and by the Buddhist perspective, which we have been exploring through the wisdom of the Dalai Lama, basically more Tibetan Buddhism, their insights. Talking a little bit about the concept of mudita, the Buddhist concept of what we call a sympathetic type of joy, the joy that we feel when another person does well. Kind of the opposite in some ways of envy, when we become kind of upset at another person's success, we become jealous of that success. And so the envy can be very destructive, whereas the mudita is more freeing, more liberating for us. Through mudita, we see that it becomes one of what we call in Buddhist thinking the four immeasurables. And they're immeasurable because they are just so rich. When we try to kind of quantify them and say this percent and that percent, they're beyond that. The four immeasurables, in addition to the mudita, the sympathetic joy, would be kindness. And kindness, of course, is an immeasurable because how do we quantify kindness? We say a person is kind. We're not talking about a limited number of actions. We're talking about the type of person they are, the generosity of spirit they have. The third immeasurable is compassion, where we have feeling for another. And again, that is immeasurable because when we see somebody in need, we react immediately. When we see somebody suffering, we react and we try to alleviate that suffering. We don't measure it. We don't say, I'll give you so much compassion. It's beyond that. It's the feeling that we have of giving aid to another person. It's interesting when we reflect on various social policies and people will say, well, we can't give so much to this one and so much to that one, and we have to have equality, and people go back and forth with various social policies. But I think it's a different story when we encounter somebody who is in need, somebody who appeals to our heart, and we don't think about quantifying it out and saying, well, I can't give this or I can't. How can I respond to this person's need? What do they need? If they're hungry, can I get them a meal? If they don't have shelter, can they come and live with me for a while? Can we find shelter for them? What can we do? We reach out in compassion, so that is the third of the immeasurables. And the fourth is equanimity. Equanimity, we want to make sure that there is a sense of equality between peoples. Each person is a child of God. Each person is special. Each person is important. And so we want that equanimity where we treat them in that way. And we kind of have a balancing of the spirits where it's not giving so much to one person that another person is in need. One of the major criticisms of the capitalist system is that it seems like too many have too much and then others have too little. How can we achieve some sort of balance there? Which is, I think, a goal that everybody strives for. They want to make sure that it is fair and equitable for all. With mudita, it's not that I am jealous of a person's success. With mudita, I actually wish them more success. They're doing well. Well, continue to do well. Continue to prosper. That's a good thing. I'm glad you got a promotion. I hope you get another one. I hope you continue to grow in your career path. It's so wonderful that you have a beautiful home, a beautiful residence. I wish you blessings. I wish you much happiness in that residence. I am happy for the good in your life. And I wish you more good. Not that I want to take away from you. No, I just wish that your success continues. and good fortune continues to smile on you. And that is the essence of mudita. Mudita sees joy as limitless. And that's the amazing thing about mudita. Right? There is no set quantification. You can only have so much joy. I only wish you 10% joy, 90% suffering. No. I wish you more joy. And joy begets more joy. And sometimes it's funny, you meet a joyful person and you get to see their background and their circumstances, and you wonder, how can they be joyful in that situation? They don't have as much materially as somebody else. You would think that they would be upset at that, but they just marvel in what they have. And they get joy in simple things. I remember reading about a person once who was reflecting on the urban landscape. He was saying that, one of the beautiful things is the park system that we have in many cities. And the fact that it is such a blessing. And the person who is the poorest, the person who is the richest, can go to that park and enjoy the beauty of those flowers, of those trees, of those birds. Take a walk. Enjoy it. And that is mudita. It's a limitless joy. You go one day to the park and it's wonderful. The next day, it's even more wonderful. The day after that, even more wonderful. That joy just keeps building on us as we see the beauties around us, beauties that sometimes, if we're too busy, we neglect. We don't take time to stop and admire the beauty that is there. And that's truly a spirit of mudita that brings us more joy as we observe more what goes around us. It is really the opposite of Schadenfreude. The Schadenfreudist really gets joy or gets pleasure, maybe not really joy, we would say, but pleasure, in another person's misfortune. We see somebody doing poorly, and we're like, oh, that's good. I'm better off than they are, or something. It's like, can you take pleasure when someone else isn't doing well? That would be the opposite of mudita. Mudita, you want to see them do well. You rejoice when they do well. And their doing well brings you joy. It doesn't bring you envy or upsetment. It brings you true joy in what they have accomplished. Bishop Tutu brings us out when he speaks of the famous African greeting. Greeting is not how are we, how area or how area. How is the area doing? How is everyone doing? Community. How area are. What a beautiful greeting. Because through that greeting, we're reaching out to all of our sisters and brothers. Everyone in our area.